Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks so much for tuning into the channel. My name is Nick Eden. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and welcome to episode 15 of Morning Cup of Merch. All right, guys, so by now everybody should know there's been a change to PopSockets. It's not really a change, to be honest, but essentially if you check your dashboards, you'll see that it's now asking you to remove the actual word PopSockets grip or PopSockets in general from the description. So it's sparked a debate among the merch community in terms of, was it ever an option for us to use? How exactly we were supposed to use it? And just to clear up a couple of things, well, let me explain something called brand standards, right? I know that the good majority of people know and understand what brand standards are, but for those who may not be familiar with it, most corporations, any legit corporation I've ever worked with, they all have a brand standard, meaning this is what their logo is, these are what their colors are, this is what the name is, how it should be said, how it should be spelled, what fonts, everything. So, for example, my wife and I, we own an event marketing agency, and for our tobacco client that we had a few years back, we handled their experiential marketing. So any tints that we did, any setups for the design that we did, anything we did for the website, any contests, anything like that, it had to adhere to the actual brand standards. So you had to use any typography in this font, at this size, at this color, it has to be by the brand standards of the company. It keeps consistency. It's the same thing if you open a McDonald's franchise. They have a certain brand standard that there's a reason when you go into every McDonald's in the country, they have a similar operation because there is a brand standard that they have to adhere to as franchisees. So it's essentially the same thing. There's a certain way that PopSockets wanted PopSocket grip placed out, and quite frankly, that just wasn't done. And so at this point, they're saying, hey, get rid of it, out of the description. It's already set to go into the title, just go from there. I'll be honest with you, when they first gave me PopSockets, I just didn't put it anywhere else. It was already in the title. There was no need for me to put it anywhere else. Now, fortunately, I've been able to sell PopSockets consistently. I don't think that I've had a day go by that I did not sell a PopSocket since I've gotten them. So maybe I could have sold more if I put it in the description, but now it's telling everybody to go back and take it out. So you got some work to do. And I think this lends to a larger problem in the POD community, because a lot of times we'll take one thing and we'll just go with it. And then when it's taken away, for lack of a better term, it's a situation where we are, we get into the groups, we get into, the YouTube channels, and we start to gripe about it a bit because we're frustrated, upset, whatever the case may be. Realize that we are licensing these things, and there is, with licensing, you have to have a code and a brand to stick by. So for everybody who is saying, oh, I want to get into licensing, I want to license collegiate sports, or I want to license, pro sports, or whatever the case, whoever you go and secure licenses for, you need to realize that you have to adhere to their brand standards. The same way PopSockets is asking you to adhere to their standards, that's with anything. It's just basic business. So, depending on how many PopSockets you have, you got a lot of work. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a Merch Wizard affiliate, but, and to be honest, I haven't used the service. But I have heard that you can do that, bulk editing with Merch Wizard. I don't know if that's against TOS or whatever, but if it's available to do it, and if it'll make it a little bit easier for you to function, then go ahead and do it. But overall, I think the biggest takeaway from all of this, because we've had this now happen a couple of times, we've had a few merch updates coming down the pipeline over the last month or so. So things like, I don't know, what was it? Gosh. Of course, I have a brain freeze now. The keyword stuffing, going in and changing that. You got 30 days to do that. Well, now at this point, it's more like 17 days or something like that. Now you got 30 days to make the changes to the PopSockets. And do I think that merch is just going to go in and just automatically shut down everything that is against TOS? No. I do think one of two things is going to happen. I think as you go forward, those things are going to start pinging if you try to get them through. But I also think that, you know, if they should ever, like, I don't think we'll have a freeze ever again, right? And all the indicators by this past Q4 would say that. But one thing that did happen a lot during that time were the manual reviews of the accounts. Do you really want to be in a situation where you haven't changed that stuff, and if and when they do a manual review, you are not compliant? No. Go ahead and just take one day a week, right? Take one, after this whole thing with PopSockets is over, why don't you go ahead and just incorporate one day a week where you go through and you make sure that everything is still available, it's not trademarked, you are completely compliant, and make sure that your account, because I get it. Yes, things change. I know it's frustrating. Amazon has to change because at any given time, there are people chomping at the bit to sue Amazon. Let's be honest. It would be, anybody who even has a chance at suing them, it's an automatic payday. So yeah, you're going to have people chomping at the bit to do so. So just make sure that your account is completely compliant. Actually go through and read the terms of service. Read the content policies. And if you have any questions, ask in the Facebook group specifically about those, or go to the forum for merch, or just contact seller support. And then I think that way, if you do that and you make it a part of your routine that, okay, Monday is my compliance day. When I worked in the restaurant business, Tuesday was my admin day. So Tuesday, no, I'm not on the floor for the most part. I'm making sure all the paperwork is done. I'm making sure that everything is compliant. I'm making sure that we're adhering to all of our brand standards. Tuesday is my admin day. Don't ask me for anything else, because today I'm handling all paperwork. It's the same thing. Pick Monday or Tuesday. Look, that's my compliance day. Make sure everything I have is completely compliant with the terms of service. And if you do that and just really put yourself in position where your account is safe, and yes, it may be a bit vanilla, but you know what? Vanilla is good. Vanilla is good. It's not worth risking your account based on something that may or may not be against TOS. Just read it, understand it. If you don't understand it, look it up, contact support, ask, and make sure that your account is safe. I do not want to see anybody else lose their account. I do not want to see anybody else getting on the Facebook groups and saying, oh, I got this email about this, about that. Not to say that you can't, but when I say I don't want you to do it, it's because I don't want to see anybody get pings on their account for something unnecessary. So keep it safe. I mean, there are people who are keeping their completely vanilla accounts and they're selling a ton of t-shirts every day. I'm not going to rant too long on that. I did want to talk about the podcast. So, you guys, I love you guys, but you guys really don't like to follow a lot of instructions sometimes, which may be why we're having the conversation we're having today. But I did get some feedback, not in the YouTube comments, but via Facebook and via Twitter, about what I should do in terms of the 4554 podcast. So, and this is the reason that there was not a podcast last night. For the time being, I am going to continue with Morning Cup of Merch. The 4554 podcast will not be every week. 4554 podcast will be every 2 weeks. So instead of this Monday, next Monday, it will be out. And we're going to gauge from there. Because the feedback that I got was that they did like the idea that the 4554 podcast went into a lot more detail about things than I do here. That being said, I am going to start going into a little bit more detail, but realize, like, I'm parked right now, but this podcast is a part of my daily drive. Well, this podcast, this YouTube video, this is all a part of my daily drive. So with that, this is going to continue to be the daily podcast. I don't want to overload you guys with content. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and watch, but I don't want to overstay my welcome, if that's the case. And every 2 weeks, you will have a 4554 podcast that comes out. So that's where we are with that. Again, please don't forget, like and subscribe. Click the bell for more notifications. My podcast week, I'm going to put my podcast watch for the week on Morning Cup of Merch. So in addition to my own podcast, thanks for listening. I'm going to be checking out Merch Minds this week. Real Talk with RJ and Matt. I forgot the guests that they have that are going to be on tomorrow. But, they always put out good content. I wanted to say congratulations and happy 1-year anniversary to the ladies of Merch Money. They have been a jewel to the merch community with their weekly show. So if you have not checked that out, it's on YouTube, Merch Money. They also are doing it in podcast format. Last night they did their big giveaways for their 1-year anniversary. So I'm really appreciating what they're doing. And if you guys have any suggestions about podcasts that I may not be talking about, please, by all means, let me know. But that's really all I have for today, guys. Take care, and I will talk to you tomorrow.